Good morning, everybody. I'm Amy Angelevich, Director of Orange City Arts, which is a nonprofit organization here in town dedicated to promoting the arts. And we are very pleased to present our Grammy award-winning composer and violinist, Mads Tolling, and he will be presenting music from around the world today. His band will be playing tomorrow night here at Unity at 7:30. It's Mads Tolling and the Madsmen playing the 60s. So if you like what you hear, tell your folks about that. We'd love to have you come join us. So let's welcome Mads Tolling.
That's right. Good morning. I know it's kind of early. Thank you so much. Anybody recognize that tune? That's fair enough. That's fair enough. That was a tune. By the way, my name is Mads Tolling, and you're probably wondering what kind of name is Mads. I know you like the Dutch people here in Orange City, right? It's founded by the Dutch. Well, I'm Danish. A lot of people get confused about the Dutch and the Danish. I'm from the country of Denmark, Copenhagen, so that's why I have a little bit of an accent. But I like the Dutch as well. And so, but what I was going to say was that was a tune called Ain't Misbehavin'. And that's what I'm hoping you won't be doing a lot of this morning. Ain't Misbehavin' by Fats Waller. It's a great American songbook song, and it was written 100 years ago. And here's the thing, that is a song that people around the world will play. It's known as a jazz standard. I guess you can call it a standard because it meets a certain standard in songwriting because it's excellent. And it's so good, you know why? Because it was written 100 years ago and it's still being played today. Think about that. A lot of the music that's being played right now on the on Spotify and whatnot, do you think it'll be played in 100 years? It depends how good it is, right? It stands the test of time, but that's really a great song. So now I play the violin, and I'm going to take you a little bit on a trip around the world. Of course, we started in the good old US of A, and now we're going to go to the country of Argentina. And Argentina, what is that known for musically? Anybody know? It's known for the tango. Have you heard of tango music? Well, tango music is from Argentina. And there was this guy who was a great master of it from the 1970s who was able to combine the tango with classical music. And you got any people studying classical music here? Yes, and jazz? Well, he was able to do that. His name was Astor Piazzolla. And this is a Nuevo Tango I'd like to play for you. I'm going to use a little bit of electronics with this, so check this out. right, thank you. Thank you so much. All right, so you probably wondering what was going on there. What did I do? Well, I was kind of playing, besides playing the violin, I was kind of playing with my feet here. And I used something called a loop pedal or a loop station. Have you heard of that? Because what you can do with the loop station, you can basically record yourself in real time and then kind of play it back. And this one is called a boomerang. You know what happens when you throw out a boomerang? If you make a good throw, it comes back at you. If you make a bad throw, it won't. So I hope to make a good throw recording-wise. And then I kind of layer on top of myself, right? So you see how I was layering first the bass line, and I was doing a little ostinato, and then I was playing the melody in the end, and also some rhythmic stuff. I was doing some of this. And that kind of created this kind of tune that sort of worked, right, in this tango style of music. So I'm just going to scale it back here a little bit and talk about the violin first of all, because this is a fascinating instrument. Anybody play the violin out there? Oh, we got a lot of string players in the back. Great. Okay, so this violin, speaking of from around the world, this was made in London, England in 1940 by a man who was in the First World War, and he was actually injured so badly that he almost couldn't make violins after that. But he's got some special equipment, some special jigs that allowed him to make violins. So it's a beautiful instrument from England. And then I have this bow from France. And this bow violin, people go, oh, it's just a stick. Well, it's a very special stick because it's made from some special wood from Brazil, the country of Brazil called Pernambuco. And what about this white-looking thing here? Would you know what that is? It's horsehair, exactly, but not just any horsehair. It comes from the tail, and it's not just, you can't just go down to old Bessie from here in Orange City and give her a haircut and then put it on your bow. No, it has to be some very special horsehair. You could almost do it here because it's quite cold here, but what you need is you need to go to countries where it's really cold, like Siberia or Mongolia, and give the horses there a haircut. And then you put it on your, your bow, and then all of a sudden you got sound. But that's not all you need to get sound, because horsehair is only one part of the equation. You also need something else to put on the bow. And I actually brought something with me here today. You know what that's called? It's called rosin. And rosin is sap from a tree, right? And you may have that here too in Iowa. That it kind of oozes out of the tree in the summertime, and when it kind of dries, it gets quite hard. And you put that on the bow, right? Because without rosin, think about it. What the strings of the bow or the hair of the bow, because it kind of attaches to the strings of the violin, and it creates a vibration where the string on the violin goes. I can see it when you're really up close. You see this, because without any friction of the bow, it would sound like this. Air violin. Not very good, right? But with rosin, all of a sudden, that rosin helps grip the strings and make a vibration. So that's kind of interesting right there. Now, I told you that this instrument is from London, England, and now I'm going to play something from London, England, a piece that was real popular in the 1990s, and you may actually recognize this one. Let's see. right, thank you. So had you heard that piece before? Any heard the piece before? Sounded familiar, didn't it? All right, some of you had. It's called Bittersweet Symphony from the British rock and roll band called The Verve. The Verve. So that's a lot of fun. And, you know, believe it or not, but all of that stuff that you heard, I played right here this morning in the last 5 minutes. So I didn't use any backing track or anything. And, you know, the reason why I came across this was during the pandemic. Remember the pandemic? It was kind of a bummer because all my band members didn't return my calls. I couldn't get any gigs anywhere. So I was like, I have a lot of time on my hands. Let me mess around with some of this stuff here, electronics. And that's how I started doing these one-person concerts. I could go out to neighborhoods. I live in San Francisco, so I would go out to neighborhoods and play for people. And that started a whole thing. So now something that I'm going to dive into a little bit. Let's see how much time do we got. We got a little bit of time. I'm going to dive into something here, which is basically rhythm, which I love to talk about because rhythm is very fundamental to this music, right? You kind of feel like grooving and moving in your chair when you're listening to this, hopefully. And so I'm going to teach you something called the backbeat. And some of you already know what the backbeat is. Anybody knows this, actually, what the backbeat is? Okay, so the backbeat is basically having an emphasis on 2 and 4 of each measure when you're playing 4/4 time. So, for example, I was doing Bittersweet Symphony. I had a very pronounced backbeat. Let me just play it for you. You got the backbeat, right? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's very important in most pop music and jazz and rock and roll and stuff. But there's other rhythmic elements that happen too that are important as well. And I'm going to teach you something called the clave, which comes more from Caribbean music. And actually, you'll find a lot in the city of New Orleans. They use a lot of this sort of clave-inspired music. And the clave can be played in 2 ways. It can either be a 2/3 clave, or it can be a 3/2 clave. Ba ba ba. That's more of a New Orleans kind of thing. The 3/2. So let's see if we can do that together. So I'm just going to clap a little bit more, and then you kind of clap along. Ba go 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 go. Nice. That's good. Nicely done. So now, if you have this side of the room does the bounce, go, 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 and then this side of the room does boom, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Now you're gonna do the clave 2, 3, 4, bounce, got, 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 got. Got. Yes. That's it. And there are a lot of tunes that are based on that. Yeah, you guys are just grooving on this. Thank you. For example, that's the Entertainer, good Scott Joplin tune. Ragtime tune has that sort of clave elements. And the backbeat and the clave, they work so well together, and they're a lot of fun when you can make that happen. So I'm going to play you a tune now that might be a little bit surprising to you that has the clave in there. And if you can find the clave, you can try to clap along with that. And it also has the backbeat. I'm going to set it up. Now you're going to get to hear how I combine the backbeat and the clave into one kind of pretty cool tune. Here it is. side of the room can do. Yeah. Nice. Thank you very much. We got any Mario Bro gamers in the room? Yes. Do you like that song? Yes. That was fun, huh? Wasn't that a lot of fun? And you probably never thought that the computer game that you really love to play has all those cool elements that make it a good song, because that's an old song, right? We're talking 40, 50 years old almost. And it's a great song because it has those kind of groovy elements that kind of, I don't know, makes you want to move. So that combination is really the crucial part about that. So we have a few more minutes, and I want to now open it up to questions. If you have any questions for me about the music that I play, about what it is to be, kind of how it's like to be a professional musician traveling the world, or anything like that, or anything about Denmark. Sorry, I can't help you about Holland or the Dutch, but I can tell you about Denmark if you want. Let me know. Anybody has any questions for me? Yes? No, I can't. I haven't tried that, but you probably could if you practiced it a long time. That might be a good TikTok video. Yes. Life in Denmark is not unlike here. It's kind of cold, and this time of year, but it's a lovely. Copenhagen is a great city. There's a lot of history there. You know, you heard of the Vikings? They're kind of from Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. So there's some Viking museums that you can see where you see the giant ships. And of course, the Little Mermaid. Have you heard of her? She was actually, the story about the Little Mermaid was written by a Danish writer named Hans Christian Andersen, who you may have read fairy tales from. Amazing writer, and he is from the country of Denmark. So now I'm going to ask the boy sitting in the very back row right there. I'm pointing at you. You know what? It takes tens of thousands of hours. It takes a long time because, of course, you got to take baby steps. First, you got to learn. Songs like that, right? Before you even start messing around with anything remotely close to this. And actually, my background is I was classically trained. I started with the Suzuki method when I was 6 years old. And did that for about 5 years. And then I got into playing classical music by Mozart, Beethoven, and Haydn. And then when I was about 15 years old, I kind of got attracted to the dark side, is what I like to say, because I got into jazz and rock and roll and fiddle music at that point and started listening to a lot of jazz music. And after that, that's when you start messing with this stuff, because that's got a lot to do with composition. I like to write music. I wrote 2 violin concertos for full symphony orchestras, meaning 70 people, and I was just one guy in it. So so that becomes a lot of time. But to answer your question, I'm 44 years old now, and I played the violin for almost 40 years. And you know what? What's cool about it is I still love doing it because there are new challenges that keep popping up. So many thousands of hours, but it's a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm going to ask the yellow shirt guy up there. Yes. Oh boy, you're gonna get me unpopular here because I'm gonna tell you the teams that where I live, which is the Golden State Warriors. Right, they're pretty good. You like Steph Curry? He's pretty cool, right? And then the 49ers, they're really kind of bad. I know, the 49ers. I know, it's gonna get me in trouble. But I will say that last year I went to the sacred grounds of Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And it was, I paid my respects, and I had a wonderful time. I didn't see a game. I was during a gig, but I want to go back there because I thought that organization is a class organization, really wonderful. So any last question? Okay, we got one over here. On this tour, believe it or not, just right here. I'm going to go right back to California after this. But then the day after I get back, I go to La Jolla, California, which is in San Diego. And then I go to Purdue University in Indiana. And then I'm back to San Francisco. So sometimes these tours are kind of funny. You go all over the map to go all the way back, you know. But I do play with a guy named Bob Weir from the Grateful Dead. You may have heard of the Grateful Dead. And sometimes we go on a 6 weeks tour with him on a big old bus. And we go all around the country to Florida and to New York and to Chicago. And so you end up just seeing kind of a lot of cool parts that you otherwise would have not seen, which I love about playing music too. This instrument brings me around the world, which is really cool. So now I think we are kind of out of time. So your question, I'm sorry. Oh, we have one last, okay. All right, so you got a last question. My favorite song to play, you know what? I always say the song that I just played because what music is all about is staying in the moment. So when I'm playing a song, I'm 100% into that song, and I'm just thinking about how can I make this song better? How can I make it really come to life? So I don't really have a favorite song, but I guess in that case, Mario Bros. Is my favorite song because that's the one I played last. So now, I want to sorry we're out of time, but I want to thank you all for showing up. It's been you've been really, I started with that tune, Ain't Misbehavin', and you have not been misbehaving at all. You've been doing really well. So I appreciate that. Thank you to all the teachers and to the staff here. And thanks for coming, guys. I appreciate it.